So when we're talking about hypotheses, there's two types that we care about. The first one is called the null hypothesis, and it's often abbreviated H sub 0. The second is called the alternative hypothesis, and it's often abbreviated H sub 1. The reason that you want to include these in an experiment is that prior to conducting the experiment, you want to have a relationship established between the independent variable and the dependent variable. This will allow you, after you conduct the experiment, to examine your data and determine whether the null hypothesis is supported or refuted, or whether the alternative hypothesis is supported or refuted. So I've written your notes that I've included on the website up here, and I want to talk through this in the Red Bull example. So to refresh your memory, the Red Bull example is you're going to test and see if you give participants different amounts of Red Bull an hour before a workout, if it affects their performance in the workout. So our null hypothesis would be written in this format. If the amount of Red Bull is manipulated, then the overall performance will not change because there is no relationship between Red Bull and performance. Any difference in the data, in that case, would be due to random variation. So how would our data support the null hypothesis? If you give 10 participants different amounts of Red Bull and they don't show any differences in the data that you collect in their performance, you could say, well, we're supporting the null hypothesis. There must be no relationship between Red Bull and their performance, in which case the changes or any small fluctuations in the data are simply due to random biological variation of the human beings. Now, if we want to talk about the alternative hypothesis, we're going to structure it in this way. If the amount of Red Bull is manipulated, then the performance of the individuals will change because there is a relationship between the two variables. And you'll need to say whether you think it is a direct relationship or an inverse relationship, or what type of relationship that may be. What type of data would we gather that could support this? Well, if you give your participants a different amount of Red Bull, and those that get more Red Bull perform better, you could say that there is a direct relationship between the amount of Red Bull and performance on a workout.